everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Lioness for Truth, where one video at a time I bring forth hidden historical documents and ancient artifacts to restore the stolen yet rich history of the not-so-African African-American. Now, this is going to be a short video. I just wanted to get on here and show my fellow Israelites this, because it's crazy to me how Esau / the Caucasian uses the media and TV shows and movies to put the truth in plain sight. You know, the truth really will make you free, because once you start reading and learning the truth of this world and the truth of our people, the true history of our people, you look at these movies and TV shows and things like that with completely different eyes. And it's crazy how much knowledge really will change your gaze and how you view things, because you begin to see the true message and the hidden symbolism and what's really being put in front of your eyes in all these shows and movies that the majority of the world think are fictional. So this movie, I was just, scrolling through the internet and doing research and putting different videos together, and I came across this movie called Son of Bigfoot, and it came out in 2017, and I was looking at it, right, and it's obvious what this movie is really about and what this movie is really portraying. Because, for one thing, we know it's prophecy that in the end times, the heathen, these other nations, these Gentiles, will begin to realize that they've inherited lives from their forefathers, and they're not actually who they were told they were. They don't actually descend from who they thought they descend from. But that is the average, everyday Gentile. That is the average everyday heathen. The elite Edomites, the elite Caucasians know exactly who they descend from and know exactly who their forefathers are. And they put it on display in movies like this. So this movie came out in 2017, like I said. It's called Son of Bigfoot. And the Esau Edomite symbolism is so heavy and so obvious, it's crazy to me. So it's called Son of Bigfoot, and it is a clear message and putting on clear display the symbolism and the fact that these Edomites, or these Caucasians as they're called in modern times, know that they descend from Esau. The Son of Bigfoot, and this is how they portray Bigfoot, which is exactly how Esau is described in the Bible. I mean, they know that they descend from Esau. They know they're Edomites. They know they're of the bloodline of Esau. They know that Esau is their forefather and their progenitor. And they put it on display in movies like this in plain sight. And this is one of tens and tens of movies where they put it on display that they know that they descend from Esau. This is exactly Esau. They're showing you, they're telling you that they are Edomites, that they descend from Esau, that Esau is their progenitor and their forefather. They know this. They just don't want you to know it. Look at these pictures. The son of Bigfoot, the son of Esau, the children of Esau. It's like they literally went into Genesis 25 and drew a character based off of how Esau is described. This picture is exactly how Esau is described in scripture. And they're showing you, by calling this movie the Son of Bigfoot, that they know that they descend from Esau. They're showing you their true history. Not only this being how they portrayed Bigfoot, but also the fact that he's in the forest. They know that they descend from Esau, and they know that they descend from the medieval wild man. We're going to get into that as well, because their history is completely a fable. What they want you to think their history is. They actually descend from the medieval wild man. We're going to get into that, like I said. And the medieval wild man, or medieval wild men, were the descendants of Esau that were cast out of society into the Caucasus Mountains, living in the forest, in caves, and crawling around on all fours. That is their true history, and they're showing you that in this movie. They're saying this is their father, this animalistic man covered in hair living in the woods. They're telling you that this is their forefather. They're telling you that this is who they descend from. Notice he's in the woods. This is their real history, and they're showing it to you in plain sight. But let's get some scriptures. Genesis 25:23 through 25. Let's read. And the Lord said unto her, her being Rebekah, Jacob and Esau's mother, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So let's read verse 25 again. And the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So Esau was red and hairy. What ethnicity of babies are red in color or pink in color when they're born? The first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So Esau was born red and hairy. Red and hairy. Does that not describe this character in this movie called the son of Bigfoot? Red complexion skin, pink complexion skin, like that of a Caucasian, because they have no pigment in their skin, so you can see the blood through their skin. So Esau is red and hairy, just like this character in this Son of Bigfoot movie. They're telling you who their ancestor is. They're telling you who they descend from. They're putting it right in front of our faces. That they descend from Esau, that they're Edomites, that they descend from the wild man. They'll say the medieval wild man is nothing more than a myth. That's because they don't want the world to know their true history. The medieval wild man is not a myth. Those are their ancestors. And the medieval wild man are the ancestors of Esau. They are Edomites. This is the true history of the Caucasian. The medieval wild man are the true ancestors of the Caucasians. And they have spent billions of dollars to cover up this fact and rewrite a fictional version of history where they are kings and dukes and princes and princesses and Vikings and Celts and Franks and Romans and Greeks that is entirely fictional. Their only history is as the medieval wild man. And those medieval wild men were real people who were the descendants of Esau. In modern day, those people are called Caucasians or white people. So Genesis 25:25, the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. In this movie, they're putting on display that this is their ancestor. Red and hairy all over and in the woods like their forefather, the wild man. Let's get another verse, because I keep bringing up the fact that he's in the woods like the wild man and like Esau. All of the traits that they display come directly from their father Esau. All the traits that the wild man displayed come from their forefather Esau, as well as all the traits they display today. So it just gets passed down. And you can see these Edomite traits displayed generation after generation after generation by these people that are now called Caucasians. Genesis 25:27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. So Esau was a cunning hunter. He was a hunter. What is the ethnicity of people that has the hunting channel and Bass Pro and Cabela's and hunting magazines and all of that? What's the ethnicity of people that wears camo and puts deer urine on themselves to sit in a tree stand to wait for an animal to come by to unalive it? What is the ethnicity of people that are hunters? What ethnicity of people do you see in Bass Pro buying guns and hunting supplies and camo to go outside and be in the field, a man of the field, to unalive an animal for fun, for sport? What ethnicity of people does that? The descendants of Esau, who are now called white or Caucasian in modern times. We're dealing with the descendants of Esau. They've always been cunning hunters. They've always been hunters. They've always done that. And that comes from their forefather Esau, who was a cunning hunter and a man of the field, always outside, always camping, always hunting, always somewhere outdoors, always hiking. Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. So now we've got three traits perfectly displayed in this movie called The Son of Bigfoot. Red, hairy all over, and a man of the field or a man of the forest, a man of the outdoors. They're showing you who their forefather is. They're showing you who their ancestors are. And it's not the Vikings and the Celts and the Franks and the Greeks and the Romans. It is the wild man. It is Esau. It is the man of the field. It is the wood woes, as the wild man is also called in medieval European history. The wood woes, the wild man. The similarities are striking and indisputable, that these people descend from Esau, that these people are the bloodline of the Edomites, and that so were the wood woes / wild man in medieval European history. So let's go into the Strong's Concordance and see what Esau's name means. So Esau is H6215, and it says Esau, hairy. Esau means hairy. Remember, he came out red and hairy all over like a garment. Esau means hairy. Here we see again, hairy or rough, Genesis 25:25. Esau, the son of Isaac, the twin brother of Jacob. So Esau means hairy. And you can do research on this, proven genetically and biologically that the Caucasian is the hairiest ethnic group of people, as you can see by the images and the videos on your screen. No other people is this hairy. No other people has this amount of body hair all over themselves. How did they portray Bigfoot in this movie, The Son of Bigfoot. How was Esau described? Red and hairy all over. Now look at the footage and the pictures on your screen. These are the ancestors of Esau. These are the ancestors of the medieval woodwoes or wild man. Now speaking of the medieval wild man or the medieval woodwoes, which are the true ancestors of the Caucasian, we're going to delve into that, and then also I'm going to show some medieval depictions of the woodwoes, also known as the wild man, being the true ancestors of the modern day Caucasian. And we're going to pull this all together and show the indisputable similarities between Esau, the modern day Caucasian, and the medieval woodwoes. All the same people. So here we're in this book called The Wild Man by Timothy Husband, and we're on page 3. So in this book, it is going into detail about the physical traits and behavioral traits of the medieval wild man or the medieval woodwoes. And we're going to see how all of these behavioral traits and physical traits perfectly describe Esau, as well as the physical and behavioral traits of the modern day Caucasian, because the woodwoes or the wild man are the ancestors, the medieval ancestors of the modern day Caucasian. As you can see this picture at the top of the page, what do we see? Does this not look exactly like how they portrayed Bigfoot in that movie? A man covered in hair all over. You see, this isn't an animal. This is a human man covered in hair in the forest on all fours. This is that same picture, the original version, not black and white. This is the original color version. Does this not look exactly like that character in that movie? They're showing you who their ancestors are. They're showing you where they come from. They're showing you their origin. They're showing you that they know who their ancestors are, who their ancestors really are. Is this not the exact same thing? The wild man, the woodwoes, the descendants of Esau. This is the exact same character. This is not an original design. I mean, it looks like they went into this book and just drew the animated version. The son of Bigfoot, the son of Esau, the son of the wild man. These are their ancestors. Look at the similarities. Red and hairy all over like a garment. Same person, same bloodline. Look at the similarities down to the hair color. They're showing you their ancestors. By every account, the wild man's behavior matched his primitive surroundings. Strong enough to uproot trees, he was violent and aggressive. Who does that sound like? Not only against wild animals, but also against his own kind. His brutish, contentious nature expressed itself in natural combativeness against which neither beast nor man was equal, though his club, and sometimes only his bare hands, was his only weapon. With his instinctive knowledge of the ways of the wild beasts, the wild man was a skilled hunter. Genesis 25:27, Esau was a what? A cunning hunter. A cunning hunter. The wild man, the woodwoes, was a skilled hunter. We're dealing with the same people. We're dealing with the descendants of Esau, the children of Esau. So you had Esau first, the progenitor of what is now called the Caucasian. The woodwoes or the wild man. These people covered in hair on all fours in the woods are the descendants of Esau and the ancestors of the people now called white people or Caucasian. The wild man was a skilled hunter, just like his forefather Esau, but in spite of his physical supremacy, shrank from contact with humans and frequently even with his own kind. Indeed, his inept social abilities apparently limited him to only the cooperative union required for procreation. Lacking agriculture, he was forced to eke out a subsistence from hunting and gathering. Thought to crawl around on all fours. Look at all these pictures depicting the wild man or the woodwoes, the descendants of Esau and the ancestors of the modern-day Caucasian on all fours. These are their real ancestors, the wild man, the descendants of Esau, and they display all of these traits till this day. The hunting, the crawling around on all fours. Thought to crawl around on all fours, he scratched tubers and roots from the ground, picked berries, and gnawed on verdure. When he killed game, he ate it completely raw. Who likes raw meat? Who likes rare steak? Who likes bloody meat? One ethnicity of people. These traits aren't new. You are who your father is. They get all of these traits from their forefather Esau. The eating of raw meat, the enjoyment of bloody raw meat. Who do you see going to restaurants and ordering a steak as rare as possible? One ethnic group of people, they get these traits from their forefather Esau. When he killed game, he ate it completely raw. By many accounts, the wild man also indulged in cannibalism. By the 16th century, this habit brought him to association with werewolves and other flesh eaters. Wild men were thought to abduct children, but often only to fulfill parental instincts. Instances of wild folk substituting changelings for human children are also recorded. Although he was a hunter, Genesis 25:27, the wild man was frequently hunted. Illustrations of the 14th century depict the wild man on all fours, at bay, pursued by hounds and hunters on horseback. Incapable of speech, the wild man muttered only unintelligible sounds or none at all. These are the ancestors of the modern-day Caucasian. This is their history. This is real white history. This is where they come from. These are their ancestors. The fake, whitewashed, completely fictional version of history that we are taught on the History Channel and in the public school system is just that, a fable and a fantasy. They were not the Vikings. They were not the Celts. They were not the Romans. They were not the Greeks. They were not the Franks. They were none of the people that they claim to be. They are the descendants of the medieval wild man / woodwoes. And they know it, which is why Woodrow Wilson in the early 1900s spent billions of dollars bombing libraries in Europe and then proceeded to write a fake, false version of history where they wrote themselves into the history of the people now falsely called African American and gave us their history. They switched it. They said that we were naked, with no written language, unable to speak, uncivilized on all fours in the woods. That was them. That's their history. Those are their ancestors. The wild man was a cunning hunter who enjoyed raw meat and was covered in hair, just like their forefather Esau, just like them now. And they put it in plain sight. They put it right in front of our faces with movies like these. The son of Bigfoot, the son of Esau, the son of the wild man. This is the true history of the Caucasian.